icon has appeared and the name has changed. Let's have a look then at the broker to see what's been configured there. And if you remember previously when I looked at the session host, we hadn't configured any of these parts. Well, for the broker, you can see in amongst the farm settings we also have the option for virtual machine redirection, and we specify what the broker is going to be. So this machine will accept incoming remote desktop connections and redirect them somewhere else based on what a broker's telling it, and the same machine's going to act as the broker. Okay, those roles can be split apart. Now if we look at the configuration of remote desktop connections, you can see that this is where the display name came from of Contoso Web Access, and we've got the server set up, and we've got various other things set up. The one thing I've removed here is my virtualization server. So this is the server that actually hosts virtual machines, and you can see just there ticking from 0 virtual machines on that to 1 virtual machine. Now if these are all identical, I can create a pool and I can share that pool among multiple users. But for this demonstration I'm going to make that a personal virtual machine. I'm going to assign it to one user. So I'm going to go in here to personal virtual desktops. I'm going to assign one. And we'll just speed up filling that information in. And if I go next and assign and finish, I'm basically done here. Well, I don't want to assign another one, so we'll uncheck that before clicking finish. Now, where did that information come from that I had one virtual machine and what the name of that virtual machine was to put in that box? Well, let's go and have a look at the server, the Hyper-V server, where that machine lives. And you can see here's the name of a machine. The name in Hyper-V actually matches its domain, fully qualified domain name, and installed on this computer you can ignore the session host. The key bit is the virtualization host, and the virtualization host can gather information about virtual machines. But if I use this little bit of PowerShell, it gets one important additional bit of information about that virtual machine, and this is sent back through a Hyper-V component called key value pair exchange. And included in key value pairs in R2 and Windows 7, we've got network addresses including the RDP address where we're listening and the fully qualified domain name of the machine. Now that needs to match the name that we see up here. Okay, so we know the fully qualified domain name, we know that it's listening for RDP, and we know the IP address it's listening at. Since I mentioned PowerShell, if we just have a look at assigning personal desktops, if I go to PowerShell on this computer, you can see there's a module in PowerShell for remote desktop services, and if I import that module and have a look at the commands that are in it, you can see there are only 3 of them, but they are get a personal desktop, set a personal desktop, and clear a personal desktop. So we can see what the user's personal desktop for administrator is, and it's on this host, it's called by this name, and it's assigned to this user. The other interesting thing about remote desktops PowerShell module is it adds a drive, and we can actually change location to that drive and have a look, and there's various tree structure configuration information in there that we can use to configure this from a script. So if I come back to my client machine and click on my desktop, again I get the warning to say this is a unsigned RDP file. To save you watching my typing, we've speeded that up, and it takes about an extra 20 seconds compared with what we're seeing here to go through all the handshaking to get the connection. Once that's done, I've got a remote desktop session into my own private virtualized machine. Inside this virtual machine, well, I can do all the things I'd normally do. So I can run applications and so on. The question that arises here is, what's the best way of delivering applications? Because we can give the user their own operating system, we can give them a full desktop on a shared operating system, or we can give them just an application, and we can mix and match those as we choose. That really is your decision, but what we're giving you here is a lot of different choices.